Dueling Dialogues presents His and Hers with Grace Matthews, The Hammer, and Connor Murphy.
Welcome to Episode 9 of His and Hers with Grace Matthews and the Caddy Man in the heart of the USA, Springfield, Missouri. Hi, you two.
Hello, hello.
Hey, what's going on?
Not much. Just having a drink.
Yeah.
It's cocktail time.
That seems to be the order of the day at this time, doesn't it?
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm kind of excited. We used to tape our shows earlier in the day, and now we tape them during happy hour so that the Caddy Man can join us. And then you just kind of feel okay about having a cocktail.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You can't do that when you're doing it at noon or 2.
But remember, it's always 4 o'clock somewhere.
That's right.
Somewhere it is.
And that's a good thing. We have a really, really great episode today.
Okay.
And I'd like to start it out with the thought of the day.
Okay.
I have everything I need for a happy life.
Okay.
You know, this one came about, we're going to be talking about Obsessive Compulsive Disorder. And the Caddy Man is going to share some first-hand experience with that. And so this thought of the day came about yesterday when my middle son was here. Doing some work, some landscaping. And he said, Mom, he goes, I have a really bad habit of window shopping. And he goes, then I always see all these things that I can't afford and I want. And I said, well, you know, the one thing you do when you go shopping is you should try to decide, am I really going to use this or is this going to clutter up my house?
Right.
And if I really think I'm going to use it, is it going to change my life? I mean, it can even change your life a little bit and be worth it. But so many things we purchase don't change our lives at all.
Right.
And then we got to have a junk room or something, or, you know, a storage unit, or, you know, clutter.
Right.
Clutter. And, you know, that's one thing that ties into obsessive compulsive disorder, is a lot of people hoard things. And that's part of obsessive compulsive disorder. They also will shop a lot. So, you know, think about it. Most people have everything in their life they need to be happy and to live a happy life. You know, we can always do better.
Right.
But happiness is going to be found where? Inside yourself.
Perfect. Yeah, I agree.
Now,
yeah.
Why do we do this show? Because we suck at relationships.
Here.
I say this every episode. It's still true today, just like it was on episode 1.
You know, the truth hurts.
It does.
Every time she says that, the truth hurts.
Yeah, he
but
grabs his chest every time I say that.
But you got to look at it and admit that you can be wrong, you can make mistakes, things can go good, things can go terribly, terribly wrong. But they can also, all that can be overcome. You have to hang in there and make it happen and not give up, not get frustrated. Well, of course you're going to get frustrated, but just basically don't give up and don't let the frustration or the anxiety overcome you, and it'll all work out.
Yeah,
there's always an answer.
Even though we've been really bad and we suck at it, we've had 32 years and we've had more good days than bad days.
There you go. And
so we're willing to share, you know, our bad days with you so that you don't have to have those bad days. And that's really pretty much how it is. So we're talking about obsessive compulsive disorder today. You know, and one of my first questions, even though I would like to introduce the fact that the Caddy Man has had obsessive compulsive disorder all his life. I mean, ever since his little crayon box, back when he was in kindergarten. He has lived with it, and he has been treated for the last 16 years. About 15 months ago, it got out of control again. And we have recently, I say we because I think it is a group family effort. We have stepped up treatment and done a lot of life-changing things.
Good.
And I'm going to let him talk about that in a little bit. But even though I've been through this for years, and my degree's in psychology, and of course we all know Howard Hughes. I mean, back when I was in school, they were still calling it the Howard Hughes disease. Yeah, it really didn't have its own name. So I was looking up today, what is it? And the dictionary says a personality disorder characterized by excessive orderliness, perfectionism, attention to details, and a need for control in relating to others. And I was like, really? Because that's not really what it's like at all.
Huh. Interesting.
I mean, first of all, the caddy man will tell you, when he says, I have OCD, the first thing people do is look down at his hands. Like he washes his hands all the time. And a lot of people have it, and that's bad. I don't want to diminish that. But he doesn't. I have to remind him to wash his hands.
That's a fact.
Before he touches my food.
That's a fact.
Or makes my drink.
Or makes the drink. She said,
did you wash your hands? Yeah. I'm a little more of a germaphobe than the caddy man is, and I don't really have obsessive compulsive disorder.
But some do, right?
They do. Okay. And certainly Howard Hughes did. So I looked a little further, and really, this really characterizes it better. It is excessive thoughts, which are obsessions, that lead to repetitive behaviors, compulsions. Okay? That's probably what a psychologist or psychiatrist would tell you. OCD is characterized by unreasonable thoughts and fears, just like I said, obsessions, that lead to compulsive behaviors. The obsessive thoughts really are bad. They can be horrible. But it's really the compulsions that people create to get rid of the obsessive thoughts that are the problem.
Right, which is a vicious circle.
Society, yeah. I mean, socially, that's where the problem comes in. And you got to think about how we bred it. I mean, like when I was a little kid, I was scared of the dark.
Right.
And they would always go in and count sheep. Well, that was really, I mean, if you think about it, creating a compulsion to deal with an obsession.
There you go. Yeah. Never thought of it that way.
You really have to be careful about what you say to people. A lot of people, especially people with OCD, are somewhat impressionable. So you say something and they might take it. Like, I've really got to count sheep, and if I don't count sheep, the boogeyman's going to get me.
Right.
And you've created, a lot of times, what the caddy man calls it, the monster.
Okay.
Okay, so there are several types of OCD, and I just want to, checking. Okay, people check to see if the stove's on. Okay, they check, and they might go to check if the door is locked. Some people will check it a certain amount of times, like
right.
Maybe 50 times. Numbers and the alphabet come in a lot. Okay?
Okay.
Contamination, which would be like a germaphobe. Okay. There's also mental contamination, where that's a little bit redundant, but you might be trying to wash your body after someone said, you're a real jerk, or you're not a good kisser. I mean, these people might go take a shower for hours and hours because somebody has tainted the way they view themselves internally.
Okay.
So that's kind of what mental contamination is. And then there's hoarding. We all know what hoarding is, where you just,
can't throw anything away.
You hoard it for different reasons, and different people hoard things for different reasons. There's sentimental reasons. There's like the people that lived through World War II that go, oh my gosh, I might need it.
Right.
And then there's those people that hoard things. Like I read a case study where a guy thought if he got rid of something, his brother was going to get cancer again.
Okay.
I mean, they don't make sense, you know?
Right.
And so there is the intrusive thoughts. The intrusive thoughts break down into several categories: sexuality, relationships, magical thinking, religion, bodily sensations like sensory motor, violence, and symmetry and order. Okay? So, and then rumination, where you have just prolonged chains of thoughts. Okay? So these are the types. And then, like I said, those further break down. For example, there's the relationship one, which can even, you might think that your partner is always being unfaithful, or you're constantly thinking about somebody. You attach kind of a rock star mentality around them. You know, sexuality, you're either thinking about sex. A lot of people that are living kind of a fake life, as far as they're living as a heterosexual but they're really gay, will sort of be thinking a lot about their real sexuality.
Right.
And it will kind of turn into magical thinking. You know, if I do this, kind of like the guy thinking his dad, his brother was going to get cancer. That's kind of, negative magic, but also like, almost voodoo would be a little bit of that.
Right.
Where I'm going to think you're going to have a car crash because I hate you,
Right.
And, religion, we all know a lot about obsessive religions and what people will do. Violence, bodily sensations, where you might be hyper aware of breathing, your eyes blinking, or swallowing, where
Right.
you think too much about swallowing. And then violence. There are people, and these are not necessarily people that would ever act on the violence, but they might think about choking someone or killing their mother or whatever. And then symmetry and order is just like I said with the caddy man. He's often talked about, putting his crayons a certain way in his box in school as a very young age. Now, one thing we do know is that untreated or not treated enough, like that happened recently, is that it can become worse, and often does. If you look at the story, one of the best learning tools would be The Aviator, that Leonardo DiCaprio plays Howard Hughes.
Right.
And even though you may know somebody, or you may have OCD that is not germophobia, washing your hands, or some of the things that Howard Hughes has, you see to what extent someone will go to perform this ritual. I'm going to call it a ritual. I don't want to diminish it, but they are usually rituals, and it's a way for them to deal with anxiety. You almost always have to have anxiety first. 30% of the people also have depression. Okay, there's lots of treatments, and we'll get into those more. I want to just let the caddy man talk about a little bit of his experience. Like I said, today we're kind of into, what it is, and get help if you haven't. This is just the first of what will probably be many episodes on OCD.
Okay.
That's true. From being a person that can talk about this firsthand, and since I have 67 years of experience with it, then I think I don't want to call myself an expert, but I definitely have lots of experience.
I'd say you could be an expert.
But the silly thing is, everybody does hear about the Howard Hughes deal, the washing the hands, the checking all the doors repeatedly. Everybody tries to make it to be something that's I don't know if you would call it silly, or those are the ones they always bring up. Even if you watch something on a YouTube, the first two things they bring up will be those two things.
Right.
And there are people out there that have those. We know that. But it can be as silly, and this is one of mine, and I'm just going to bring this up. I cannot stop the gas pump unless it's on what I consider an even number, a 0 or a 5. I will run it over to get it to that number, the last number.
Okay.
Now, that doesn't hurt anybody, that doesn't do anything, but I have to do that. Some people call it that they're superstitious, but it's a compulsive reaction that in my mind I have to do this because somewhere, somehow, something happened that I didn't do it that way, and something happened that I related it to not happening. I'm not doing it that way, and so therefore I've got to do it that way every time.
Okay.
And there's little things, but it is something that can be controlled with medicine. It can also be controlled by recognizing it.
And behavior modification.
And then changing it, yes. And that is what happens is if it gets out of control, you cannot admit then, or you're not admitting to yourself that you have a problem, that the problem's gotten out of control. You just see yourself as still doing the, let's say, habit, or what I call it is order. If I break the order or the chain, then I would think bad things would happen because at some time in my life, I didn't do things in the right order and something happened that I can relate to that was bad. Of course, that could have been that I ran out of soda. I mean, it could be that, God, I didn't buy enough beer that week.
So it doesn't have to be related.
No. And that's what, and people, there are so many people out there, and I want to say this, and I want people to really listen to me. There are so many people out there that have these addicting behaviors that need to get help. You're not crazy.
No, in fact, I would like to interject that people with OCD tend to have higher than average IQ.
Oh, wow.
It's very complex.
Thank you.
As silly as it sounds. Okay, as silly as some of the stuff sounds, it is very complex and comes from a very intellectual person. And that's why even therapists like to use Howard Hughes as an example, because he was so complex.
Right.
And the disease is so complex. At one point, I just went, and I don't want to detract, but he had 26 glass milk bottles. He had to pee in each one and repeat the alphabet to get to where he was at in the process. Like if he was at N, he would have to start at A and go to N.
Wow.
Then when he got to O, he'd have to come back and P and O and start over again.
Wow.
Repeating them. And this was one of the very first billionaires ever.
Huh.
Okay. People of low IQ, they're more likely to have tics than OCD because it's very complex. And so I'll let you go back.
Well, and just to the point I was trying to make is, don't be embarrassed by admitting it. Grace and I make a joke that, and I told her about this morning. When you do repetitive things, regardless of what it is, you make a joke. Especially say you're 30 years old. You say, "God, I'm OC because I go to the gym every day at 6 o'clock." Okay. And it's a funny little ha 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 ha.
Right.
So now I continue to do whatever habits they are, that or any other habits. Now I do them for another 5-10 years. Same time, whatever. Now I've got 40 years of doing this, or 20, however many years it is. And you make a joke, well, I must be OC because I keep continuing to do this. Ha 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 ha. Well, you know what? It's not a ha 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 ha.
Well, you can't let those go because they do turn into more serious things.
Exactly. That's the biggest, scariest thing about this problem, is it manifests itself into other problems, the anxiety, and then with the anxiety and the compulsions, it can generate into compulsive lying, because you are going to make that whatever it is happen come hell or high water, because you have said, you have got it built up in your mind that I cannot move on, I cannot finish my day, I cannot be successful. You can come up with every excuse in the world if I don't complete that task, whatever it is. If it's peeing in a milk bottle,
which you don't do.
Which I must admit, I have not done that one. Now, I've peed in some beer bottles on road trips.
Too much info.
Yeah, I shouldn't go to that one. But anyway, there are things that happen. But the biggest thing about this problem is, first of all, admitting that you have it, and then seeing the problem happen.
Well, and I want to say, as somebody that has been watching out since and how one reason this got so bad 15 months ago again, is that, first of all, you start decoding medicine. That's why you do need to go through the behavior management, which the Caddy Man is now going through. But I let little things go with him. Like, he has his closet in order of days. So he has a Monday outfit, a Tuesday outfit, and I was like, who's that hurting? Well, it does hurt because it's rewiring your brain and setting it up for bigger and worse things, which is what happened. I knew he was doing some of these things again.
Right.
But I'm like, who cares?
Right.
You know, if he wants to wear gray on Mondays, it's not hurting anyone.
Yeah, exactly.
Except that, as one of the therapist explained, it's like a gate in your brain. If you can imagine a gate in your brain, and it's opened up, okay? And this is the way the information is flowing. So those little things are setting the stage for the big thing. If you don't shut that gate, the big thing's coming.
Right.
And that's a promise.
Yeah, so what happens is people do not understand that the small problem manifests into a big problem. Just like Grace was saying, that being starting out by just wearing the same clothes on the same day or some color combination, no, that didn't hurt anybody. But as you do this, you start making other things into a ritual,
Yeah.
or a continual habit.
Compulsion, yeah.
And it can cause bad things. We watch a guru.
Sadhguru.
That he says, and it's true.
And he's not even talking about OCD.
No, he's talking about just habits.
Yeah.
Brushing your teeth in the morning. That was one of the best examples I've ever heard anyone give. Everybody, I hope everybody brushes her teeth every. Okay, if you just get up, walk in, and at 7:05 or whatever, you brush your. You don't think about it. You grab the toothbrush. You squirt the the toothpaste on. You brush your teeth. You put your toothbrush up. You take your mouthwash, swirl it around, do that. Then women put their makeup on. Guys maybe, well, I don't have any hair, but comb their hair, shave, whatever your ritual is. Everybody's got their ritual.
Yeah.
Okay, if you're going through the motions, it is a bad habit because you are not cognitively thinking about what is happening. You are basically brain asleep and going through memory motion of day to day, and therefore
without intention.
Yes, that it's
It's just something you do.
You just do it. Now, if you can wake up and walk down there, and as you're brushing your teeth, go, I'm glad I'm doing this because I sure as to hell hope that my breath doesn't kill anybody today that I talk to when you're in the public like I am. Or I know that my wife is not going to kiss me if I smell like last night 4 beers or whatever. So, I mean, it doesn't have to be a monumental, like you're changing the world type of cognitive thinking. It's just got to be a thought. Just a thought. Break that habit. Everybody, that's the biggest thing. Break the habit.
Be aware.
Think. Think, why am I doing this? Doesn't matter what it is. The least little thing. I have changed my, I'll just give one more little example here. I don't want to just go on, but work habits. They teach you at work to make good habits. You will be able to understand this, Colin, that because you teach new people, you got to have good work habits. You need to do this, you need to do that at a certain time, you need to do this. Well, you get someone that's got a little compulsive or a little OC in them, so at 9 o'clock they do this. 10 o'clock they do this, 11 o'clock they do this, 12 o'clock they do this, 1 o'clock they do whatever. It gets to be a habit. Well, that can make them a very successful person because they are trained or have that in their DNA now that that's what they do. So therefore they get their jobs done, work production's good. However, mentally, they're destroying them. Because they are not thinking, they are not saying, okay, why can't I do the 2 o'clock at 9 o'clock?
Exactly. And what are you missing when you're turning into that robot?
And I had a little joke I used to say all the time when people would say, well, hey man, hey, what's going on? How's things going? Well, just like Groundhog Day. Anybody's ever seen the movie Groundhog Day?
Yeah.
Every day's the same until Bill Murray decides to start changing it.
And that's the one thing the Caddy Man says all the time.
You have to change. And I have been one of the biggest fighters of change at work. They hated me because, God, we have gone through 3 or 4 different computer systems, and I just throw a fit every time because I'm not the most internet savvy person out there. I have to do things over and over, so learn it. And about the time it seems like I was getting the system down, we would change. And as we get older, that is not good. But I have learned now, and as Grace said earlier, the COVID-19, that was actually helped turn my life back around and get headed in the right direction. And seeing that it had returned and gotten out of control, where she wasn't around me 8 to 9 hours a day because I was at work. She did not see me back into that pattern thing.
All right.
By being under her surveillance, and I do say surveillance.
Yeah. Well, I just want to interject something that's so funny, because the very first night he came home, we went up to bed, and we knew he was going to be home a few weeks on furlough, because of the COVID-19 thing. I said, first of all, I'd like to introduce you to your wife. Secondly, I'd like to welcome you to my home. Obviously, it's been his home.
Right.
They had never really visited here.
Right.
And he looks at me like, oh my God, I'm scared to death. And I kind of knew nothing was ever going to be the same again. I did not know his OC had gotten this bad again.
Right.
But I think that's true, though.
Yes.
Somehow I had some sort of gut feeling that said, welcome to my home. You might like. I did say you're never going to want to leave.
So you're basically saying push yourself into change.
Exactly. You have to. Because the redundancy will lead you down a wrong path. Now, as I was saying about the work thing, you still can get all your stuff done.
Right.
There's things, as you know, from running companies and handling people. First of all, people work in different speeds. They handle things differently. But by the end of the day, if you get everything done you're supposed to do, it doesn't really matter how you get it done, does it?
Right.
No. It's getting it done. But don't fall into that trap that I have to do this at this time. I have to do it this way. No other way will work. It is so easy to trap your mind. Will play tricks on you if you allow it to. And mind is a powerful, powerful, powerful thing. And if you are not constantly aware that you are the controller of your mind, not the mind is the controller of you, it will do what you tell it to do. But if you don't, it will take over everything that you do, and it will make you do things you do not want to do, and it will make, then all of a sudden you realize that you're doing things, why am I doing this? And it is something that can be taken care of, but recognize, I guess that's what my point is, what I want to do. I want to help other people.
Okay.
I let it get too far. I did ask a family physician for help on. They do not like to get involved in these type of diseases, or not diseases, but these types of situations. And since they kind of put up a little, I ignored it. I thought, well, if he's not seeing it, maybe it's not like I think it is. But I was so wrong. Go get it checked out. It's not hard to get checked out. You can find out if it's getting out of control. You can find out if you have it. And if you have it, that doesn't mean that you're bad. It doesn't mean you're crazy. It doesn't mean anything. It means you have a problem.
So where do you go for help?
You can get medicine. But most of all, getting help is recognizing that you have a problem.
There are a lot of people that can even get if your case is not too severe, you can get it from self-help books, you can get it from the internet. If the rule of thumb, and I'm not a doctor, I don't want to say that, is that if it is taking up more than an hour of your day, then it is clinical, and you do need probably the help of a therapist, a psychiatrist, or a family physician that is very savvy. Be careful of the family physicians. For one thing, for example, at one point they wanted Cattleman to go out and off of his medicine for 6 weeks and then start a new one.
Ew.
Oh, no. He mischaracterized that really bad. That we knew that was never going to work. So that's why he didn't get help like a year ago.
Right.
Extra help. Because the a family physician who was already giving him medication, based on a previous doctor, didn't see it as being bad enough, but he didn't ask enough questions.
Right.
And then there's always the idea that someone with OC will play it down.
Yes.
They will do that. In fact, in certain situations, they will do just about anything to keep the compulsion going.
Right.
Yes, they will. And there's another, I don't want to say it's a myth because it's not a myth. There's one of those that said, I read that a guy thought that if he didn't do this, that if he did not perform the certain act every day, he would die.
Yeah.
He would not see tomorrow. Now, I want to add that is the very extreme.
Right.
But I'm going to add to what Grace just said. When the OC's got you and the compulsion from the OC has you, performing that act is the most monumental thing that happens during your day. Just perform that act. I'm not saying that the world needs to change, that it doesn't have to hurt anybody, but that act has to happen in some way, some form, and that's when you are out of control.
And then another way they kind of decide how bad you are, how bad your OCD is, not how bad you are, that was a bad statement, but is your intentions. I'm just going to use the hand washing, which I know Caddyman hates because that's kind of the stereotype. But okay, what are your intentions? Are you washing your hands because you don't like germs? Are you washing your hands because it's that time of day? Or are you washing your hands because of some delusion, like the guy that thought his brother was going to get cancer if he threw something away?
Right.
Okay, that becomes delusional. Those are also other characteristics they use to define the degree at which, the kind of help you need.
Right.
But many people, if you get it at the beginning, you can retrain your brain yourself. But now, if you're spending more than an hour a day, and if your compulsion is destroying life, meaning you will do absolutely anything to make that happen in a day or provide that time in that certain place, you must get professional help.
Okay. All right. Well, this, I must give it to you, Caddyman, must not be easy to talk about.
It would have been until I look back now at some of the consequences that my affliction has had on my family. And the biggest thing is I should have recognized that the problem had gotten out of control, and that's what has kind of made me come forth and want to help other people with this, is knowing what it can lead to. And I don't want people, it's kind of like your children. When we had the episode a few weeks ago about parenting and taking care of your kids, I do not want my children or anybody else's children making the same mistakes I did.
Right.
I want them to know that there's nothing wrong with having this. It's very curable. Any therapist will tell you that. You can even, as Grace said, you can do it without medicine. The reason why I need medicine probably more than other people is because I've been doing it too long. Yeah. And if I can stop someone that's in their early age, they will not. Once you learn how to stop it, it's not that hard to stop it.
Right.
it's just recognizing the problem. It's almost like a traffic light. If you don't know what red means and what green means, and you pull up to that, you come up that light every time, you might not make the right decision. If you know that the red means stop and the green means go, you're probably going to make the right decision. Now, there might be some idiot coming the other direction that doesn't, but you can cut a lot of the pitfalls out and live a very happy and successful life, and it can all be good. And I'm just saying that I just want to relay my story and my experiences with it, because I want people to know the truth of it and the way it reacts, not the extremes that they have, that it can be anything as simple as wearing the same outfit on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays, or putting the silverware away the same way, or stacking the glasses in your cabinet. It can be anything as simple as that, or how many times you brush your hair in the morning. Any sequence that you have gotten yourself into can turn into something worse. So just be aware of it and stop it before it happens.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. We'll have to do more of these episodes for sure on OCD, because I tell you, I've learned a lot today. So thank you.
Absolutely. And we'd like to end our show with our affirmation. And remember, affirmation is not necessarily something that is true, but something you're working on.
Right.
And it's a way of affirming that. So we are messengers in love, happy, healthy, financially prosperous, great partners and parents. We are charitable, energetic, creative trendsetters that experience success every day.
Hear, hear.
Thanks for listening, and thanks to the Caddy Man for telling us the story.
Yes,
all
absolutely.
Right. I hope everyone tunes back next week, and we'll see you then.
All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. Godspeed, you two.
Godspeed.